and shine. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We've had a busy show to start your Tuesday morning.
That was a Kylie Jenner Rise and Shine. You sang it like a Jenner. Well done, you.
Almost like Pocahontas would.
Okay, there's little jokes going on here in studio, but you know what? It's the 29th of November, and here's what's coming up. Let's stick to the auto cue, Tommy.
Following figures showing that more than 11,000 people are homeless in Ireland. A 21-year-old woman tells us about sleeping rough for 7 years. Shortly, we're going to find out what supports are needed to protect young people from homelessness.
Yeah, we were just talking about these yesterday, what's going on, and it's affecting so many people in Ireland. So we'll be chatting about that in just a little while. Later on in the show, Monaghan footballer Cathriona McConnell, we were chatting about her yesterday. She's going to be telling us about her whirlwind weekend, going from her wedding to winning a crucial match to put her team into the All-Ireland Football Club final.
Come on, Donamoyne. Yeah, I called Marathon yesterday, but got it wrong. Anyway, plus the Skin Nerd has great gift ideas for the beauty lover in your life.
Absolutely. Alan, our beauty lover.
Yes.
What's coming up?
Well, James, Patrice and Erin McGregor are reuniting for Panto. They're going to be talking Christmas traditions, dancing cows and diva antics. Plus, in the kitchen later on, we're going to be serving up fruit crumble. So looking forward to that. Now, let's check in with Deric, who's in Cork this morning, finding out about a worthy cause. Good morning, Deric.
Yes, good morning, Al. We're live down here in Cork City this morning. A little bit of a misty and foggy start, but some really nice November sunshine out there for the second last day of the month, with showers on the way to the southwest later on today. But as you mentioned, Al, we've come down here to the heart of Cork City Centre this morning. We're actually at the centre here behind us. You can see as we come in, Feed Cork HQ. This is a food bank that provides food to people at risk of food poverty. So we're going to be catching up with some of the volunteers on the ground as we tie in with the Tesco Christmas appeal. So that's all to come live from Cork right across the morning.
Fantastic, Deric. Look at that. Everybody up so early to help out. Good on you. OK, thanks very much. We'll catch up with Deric a little bit later in the show. But first now, let's get the news with Cliodhna Russell.
Thanks, Tommy. Good morning. Bankers will be allowed to start earning bonuses again under plans going to Cabinet today. A proposal from Paschal Donoghue to abolish the ban introduced after the bailout in 2011 will be considered by ministers. Bank executives would be allowed to earn bonuses of up to €20,000 if the move goes ahead. The €500,000 pay cap for the head of Bank of Ireland would also be lifted. That bank is the only one no longer under any public ownership. Elsewhere, the Cabinet will also consider proposals from Simon Harris making it easier for colleges to fund the development of new student accommodation. Heather Humphreys will bring plans to extend the welfare Christmas bonus to over 17,000 people who've been receiving illness benefit for over a year. And Eamon Ryan will ask for approval to order 90 more carriages for Ireland's train network to be delivered in 2026. Donald Trump is being widely criticised, including from within the Republican Party, after he had a white supremacist and Holocaust denier as a dinner guest. The former US president said Nick Fuentes was a guest of Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, who showed up at Mar-a-Lago over the weekend. Trump has refused to denounce the views of Fuentes, sparking condemnation across the political divide.
I think it's disgusting to invite people like that to meet with a former president of the United States. I think it's been clear that there's no bottom to the degree to which President Trump will degrade himself and the nation.
For a former president to sit down and have dinner with a high-profile anti-Semite is disgusting and dangerous. To give an anti-Semite even the smallest platform, much less an audience over dinner, is pure evil.
In China, protesters have been on the streets for another night, venting their frustration at the ongoing zero-COVID measures. There was a large police presence in many cities.
The demonstrations have continued on the streets of China. Protesters coming out in large numbers in numerous cities, including Shanghai and Beijing, chanting slogans and confronting police. A number of protests are also being seen on university campuses. Some demonstrations have taken place outside of China, including this one held at the Chinese embassy in London. Police are present in large numbers at the Chinese protests, and there are reports of numerous arrests. After 3 years of restrictions, quarantines and lockdowns, demonstrators have had enough and are calling for an end to China's zero COVID policy. Some people want the Chinese President Xi Jinping to step down. But one government spokesperson says there's no frustration at the country's COVID protocol and says the Communist Party's fight against COVID will be successful.
What you mentioned does not reflect what actually happened. China has been following the dynamic zero COVID policy and making adjustments based on the realities on the ground.
The protests are unprecedented in recent history and were sparked by a fatal fire at a high-rise apartment block where the rescue effort was hampered by lockdown measures. China has reported an increase in new COVID-19 cases for over 6 days straight. Marie Mulcahy, Virgin Media News.
The world's largest active volcano is erupting in Hawaii for the first time in nearly 40 years. Officials say volcanic ash and debris is falling, but so far the lava flow is not affecting local residents. Scientists had been on alert because of a recent spike in earthquakes at the summit of the volcano, which last erupted in 1984.
We don't want to try and second guess the volcano. We have to let it actually show us what it's going to do, and then we inform people of what is happening ASAP. We could be in for a little bit of a prolonged time trying to determine if this is going to be a summit-only eruption or a summit plus a rift zone eruption.
For car insurance, van insurance, or home insurance, call the Quote Devil. Unless, of course, you've got money to burn.
Thank you very much, Marie, and a very good morning to you at home, or if you're indeed streaming online on the player, we're coming to you live here from the heart of Cork City Centre this morning at Feed Cork HQ. It is a food bank to help those at risk of food poverty. So we're going to be catching up with some of the volunteers here on the ground. They do absolutely amazing work. So that's all to come in and around 7:35 this morning. Anyway, let's take an opening look at weather together now with Gary Culleton on cameras. For the second last day of November, it's looking pretty good. In fact, a mainly dry and settled start out there this morning. A little bit of mist and fog trailing around now in those light to moderate south-easterly breezes, but no sign of any rain really. A couple of hit-and-miss showers passing across the Aran Islands at the moment, but elsewhere pretty settled now as we wake up into your breakfast time. Now, right across the day, in fact, we will see a pretty decent day in store. Take a look at the map. Some really nice November rays extending across the island, with the exception of parts of the southwest. We will see a couple of hit-and-miss showers kick up towards the back end of the day. Temperatures very similar to yesterday as well, at 7 to 11 degrees. And finally then tonight, those showers across parts of Munster will begin to edge and taper across the country. Will be light in nature as they feed their way into those early morning hours, where it does clear out some patches of mist and fog will rear its head, but a lot milder than those temperatures we've seen over the last day or so, with values back to about 2 to 7 degrees. So that's how it's shaping up here in Cork City Centre at the moment. Not a bad start to Tuesday morning. We'll catch you back live at 7:35.
For first-time drivers, young drivers, returning drivers, if you've had an open claim or have had too many penalty points.
The Quote Devil's always got one hell of a quote. Now coming up next, as homeless figures pass 11,000 people, we're going to be hearing one young woman's story of sleeping rough for 7 years.
Yeah, that, like 11,000, that includes over 3,500, almost 4,000 children. Really quite shocked. We'd love to get your feelings on this as we head into into Christmas time. 0896 111 111. Please do get in touch. We're going to be back with that after the break. You're very welcome back. Now, Ireland's homelessness rate has reached record heights, with more than 11,000 people set to spend Christmas sleeping rough or living in emergency accommodation.
Just think about that. Like last year, we were all thinking about people who weren't at home because of COVID, people being separated from families. This is over 11,000 people, including over 3,500 children who don't have a home to go to. Jodie Tate is 21 and she has been homeless for much of the past 7 years. And Jodie joins us alongside David Carroll from homeless charity DePaul. Thank you both so much for being here. Like, we can't explain to you how much it means.
Thanks for having us.
Jodie, I think when I say you're 21 years old and you've spent much of the last 7 years homeless, like everyone's doing the sums going, what do you mean she wasn't at home when she was 14 years old? What happened?
It was really just family breakdown. That was it. I just didn't get along with my mom's new boyfriend, so that's it.
You ended up leaving?
Leaving, yeah, because, well, she didn't make the best decision for me, so.
And then I suppose at 14 years old, people can be headstrong and kind of go, I'm just done, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But what did that lead to? then? That immediate day that you said, I can't do this anymore. What's the reality of that? Because I can't imagine.
Well, I actually thrived more. I went and I studied IT skills in Dunleary Foss Training Centre, and I passed that within a year, and it's a 2-year course. So I just, like, even though I was on the streets and I was like living rough, I was going to friends' houses to like shower, get ready. Like, I was still going and studying every single day. It was just a constant battle between just my brain and myself, like my brain and my heart. It was just like, what do I want to do? Do I want to go back to my family, or do I want to keep continuing with the life that I'm thriving in, whereas I didn't thrive when I was at home.
So you fell out with your mum's boyfriend. What, you know, at an age of, say, around 14, where do you go? How did you know what to do?
Well, all my family, I was originally from Dublin anyway, so all my family lived in Dublin, so I'd stay in an auntie's house one night, my nanny's another night, then pretend that I just was staying in a friend's or something, because I could tell they were sick of me.
Okay. You could tell they were sick of you?
Yeah.
Do people know the full extent of the situation?
Well, not everyone does, but I won't really get into the full extent of it all.
Where did you end up on those nights where you were like, well, they're sick of me, I have to go somewhere else? Where did you sleep?
Dunleary Harbour.
Where in Dunleary Harbour?
I'd find a boat that I could like crawl onto, and I'd have sleeping bags already. Like, I'd have them set aside in a car park, underground car park, and I'd just grab them and then go find a boat.
How scary was it? Because
terrifying, honestly. I was petrified. I was a young girl, you know, as a woman, like, I was petrified.
No, I can't, like, I'm afraid walking home. We talk about women walking home at night.
I know.
So you're a teenager and you're dodging around trying to see people, trying to have people not see you jump into a boat, knowing that you're vulnerable and you're by yourself.
Yeah, and there's lots of drinkers on the harbour as well, like, so it was yeah, it was really tough to like kind of sneak around them, try not to get noticed, you know.
Try not to get noticed. David, I can't put myself into Jodie's shoes.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
I'm very lucky not to be able to put myself into Jodie's shoes. I just can't imagine it. Is this a story that you hear a lot in Paul?
Well, first of all, Jodie's a remarkable young person and woman to be able to tell her story, because I think what we want to do is to be able to demonstrate that people's voices in homelessness and to hear what the real reality can be. But I think Jodie's kind of position in terms of bouncing around and moving from place to place is probably typical of a lot of young people at the moment who are trying to be able to find long-term solutions. I think, fortunately, Jodie has been able to get into a situation where support is available for her, and she's thriving on the back of that. And I think she's a real beacon of hope in terms of what is possible if people can get that help and get that assistance at the right time. But what underpins all of this really is a stable place and a stable surroundings for any person who may find themselves in either family difficulties or no homes because of maybe economic difficulties as well. And, you know, I suppose that's the big kind of concern and fear at the moment, isn't it? You know, we have a generation, like 40% of the people that are in our services are aged between 18 and 30. And we really have to focus on that we don't lose another generation to homelessness. And I think Jodie's story and her strength and ability to be able to move forward to her life is a remarkable.
So you work with the homeless charity DePaul, not to be confused with St. Vincent de Paul.
Yeah.
But when we see the numbers, 11,000 adults and children, and you're talking about those numbers there, and with rent prices and the cost of housing, the way things are going, the policies that have been set in place, do you fear for what's to come in the next couple of months, 6 months, even next year?
Well, I mean, the moratorium on evictions is such an important step by government, you know, but there is a legitimate question of what happens after April. in terms of that situation. It's been brought in order to give us a bit of breathing space in order to bring the supply on board. We have to redouble our efforts in the next kind of couple of months to look at vacant properties, to look at the social housing units that will come on board next year. There is a 9,000 target. We know there's difficulties in delivering on that at the moment, and we need to understand what those blocks are. I think we need to think in terms of what will happen after April as well.
And Jodie, even then, when we talk about this, and some of the facilities are fantastic, but very difficult. And for you at a young age, what was it like even going into those homeless hostels where you're dealing with other people who are in a similar situation but might be a lot older?
Horrific. Honestly, I've had some of the worst experience in different hostels, but yeah, that's a different story for another day. I think they're very, some hostels just don't have the sort of support that DePaul has had for me, and I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, I think that underlines the need for specialist services for young people, and the youth homelessness strategy was launched a couple of weeks ago, and that it outlines the need for that to happen. You know, Peter's Place is probably one of 2 projects that's specifically for young people in the country. We need more of those.
So this is where you are. So these are single units with their own ensuite. You're safe and you're secure, unlike when you were in a homeless hostel. I think you talked about one story where a woman saw you putting money in your bra.
Yeah, the night before, and then I woke up like 7 in the morning and she was trying to take it out. Honestly, I was just like, you are like 35
What age were you then?
years of age. I was 18.
Right, so no sense of security. No. There's nothing. And the thing is, I suppose we're always worried about losing generations. You know, we talk about people going into prison, but there's nothing there to prevent people from going into prison. And a lot of people will be like, losing people to addiction. And when people go on the streets, you often see that they're hand in hand with addiction problems. Was that something that you had to navigate your way around?
I kind of grew up knowing about the idea of it, so I kind of done the opposite of everything that I seen. So that's what kind of like made me thrive. And honestly, I can't thank my friends enough, because they've been more family than my real family, and they've looked after me so much, and they've supported me and just motivated me to keep going the whole time. They've just constantly supported me.
And you did thrive.
Yeah.
And that's I mean, your story is really quite remarkable, that you saw what maybe the road that you could have gone down, the path that you could have gone down, and you went the other direction. You would decide to go back. You did your leaving cert. Yeah. How did you get on with that?
Straight A's.
Good woman.
Thank you.
Incredible. And gone now into college then as well.
Yeah.
You must be so hopeful then of the future and an inspiration to other people, as David just said, for that bit of hope. And that's what you have to live for.
Yeah, because we're not just numbers, we're people. And that's the campaign we're trying to... Yeah. That's the voice we're trying to get out there. Like, I've spoken to so many different homeless people, and they all say the same thing, like, I just feel like another number on the list. And it's so sad and it's so heartbreaking. And especially when it's someone younger than me, because I was that young girl at some stage. And it's just, honestly, it's heartbreaking. It really is. And the campaign that's set up now for youth homelessness, I hope it just goes further and further, and like more facilities for younger people. It's needed, because you can easily get caught up in the adult drama in the other hostels, and like you can think you're safe because that person's 35, you're 18, so you're like, okay, this is a grown adult, I'm safe. But realistically, you're not. You're not.
That person isn't a parental figure in your life, they're just in the room. Can you tell us, David, about the campaign? Because I do think it's so important to realise that we see these figures. They're not. Someone isn't just a statistic. It's a human. If you're at home looking at a 14-year-old right now, that was Jodie on the street.
Yeah, Miriam, we provided services for over 4,000 people last year. So there's 4,000 different individual stories from people coming from such different backgrounds as well, from economic difficulties, from the likes of what Jodie has experienced, to families who haven't been able to maintain their homes because they've been evicted due to losing their private rented accommodation. So I think the complexion of what we're dealing with is very, very different, depending on what your own individual situation is. And through our campaign, not just another number, we want to highlight the fact that, you know, one of the things for me is the frustration that it's taken for it to get to this level, for people really to wake up that we've had a problem for a considerable period of time.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can't... And I speak strongly enough, Tommy, that this needs to be tackled now.
And you said it's not just a number, but the number is frightening. Over 11,000 people, and that is people. You know, it is just scary. If people do want to get involved, depaul.ie, if they would like to donate, please do, because as you can see from Jodie here, that bit of support makes all the difference. Listen, David Carroll, CEO of DePaul, thank you so much for coming in, and Jodie Tate, true inspiration.
Thank you
Good
so
on
much.
you. Thank you
It's
so
a
much.
pleasure to have you both here, and we'll be talking in the news later on about how 43,000 landlords have left the private rental market, putting more pressure on people to find homes. There's lots more still to come on Ireland AM.
See you shortly. Yes, of course, Christmas is a time for giving, and as we just saw, Deric is finding out about this Cork charity that's helping struggling families at this time of year. So let's get back down to him. Deric, take it away.
Yes, thank you very much, Tommy, and welcome down here to Feed Cork HQ, a food bank to help those most at risk of food poverty. And Pastor Hamp Sirmans.
That's right.
All the way from Florida, USA.
That's right.
Hamp, tell us about the work you do here.
Yeah, Feed Cork was established by Cork Church as a response to food poverty. We started about 5 years ago, and we work on the other side of homelessness, in that we're trying to keep people in their homes and to bridge the gap sometimes between income and, you know, the outgoings of what people are able to do. So we started about 5 years ago with about 5 baskets. In 5 years, we've done about 50,000 food parcels. We've helped, I think we've delivered about 2 million meals now. And our goal is to help people face food poverty with dignity and respect. When they come in, we treat them with a lot of love and care.
And the numbers have grown, Hamp, over the last year, haven't they?
Yeah, that's right. Due to the cost of living crisis, we've seen the numbers increase from, like last year, at this time, we had around 850 people registered. This year, we have about 1,952 people registered.
Okay, so more than 100%.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you find people on fixed incomes, people that are working full-time. They've got... you know, the bills are going up, the wages are shrinking, and so we're here to help as many as we can.
It's a tough time, and this wouldn't happen without the volunteers, Hamp, as well.
That's right. We have a wonderful group of volunteers. You see them working away in the background here. It takes about 400 man-hours a week to shift the amount of food, anywhere from 3 to 5 tons, depending on the week that we have, to supply what we do. And we try and give out what's equivalent to anywhere from 120 to 150 euros worth of food a week to people, so that we treat it like a shop. They can come through, they register, they come through, they can choose what they want. So we're not just throwing a food parcel at them. You can see all of the different products that we have here supplied by Food Cloud, Tesco, different partners that we have in the city.
And not only are you based here in Cork City, but you've actually expanded across the country.
That's right.
As well.
That's right. We've helped other churches that wanted to do something very similar in their community. We're Feed Dublin in Blanchardstown at Britannia Church. We're also in Feed Wexford. There's a Feed Wexford, there's a Feed Clare, and we also have a Feed West Cork out in Drumalee.
Just out the road here as well.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
Really, really important work. Without the volunteers, it wouldn't happen. Well, you're a coordinator with the programme. Tell us about your work.
My work, I suppose, we just organise the volunteers week in, week out, just to make sure we have enough cover so we can run this efficiently every week. Again, we couldn't do it without them. We have, you know, we can turn like euro into about 18 euros, you know, with the different, you know, with the amount of food and stuff that we get in. And I suppose we're all, you know, we have a GoFundMe page that we've set up for the cost of living crisis, especially for Christmas, because We know people are really going to be pinned to their collars this year. We're 4 weeks away and it doesn't even feel like Christmas, do you know, that kind of way. So, and then when people come in, we register everybody that comes in just in case there's an issue with food, so we can contact them, whatever. It's just so professionally done.
And it's very laid back. It almost feels like a supermarket, as Hamp said.
It does, yeah, and it has to be that way because you have families, people coming in here with children, and we don't want kids to remember, oh, Mammy got a bag of food from somewhere down the street there. This is just such a fun place to come, you know, with the child. If you have to come in here, it's a happy, safe space.
Absolutely, no stigma attached.
No stigma, and we have the cafe, which is complimentary, and it's run beautifully, and yeah, so it's a really nice space, you know.
And Gavin, you look after the after-school fuel programme. What's involved in that?
Yeah, we're feeding about 60 children every weekend, 52 weeks a year. We're getting our hot meals to them. We get supported by Brook Foods, the local catering company. We're working with all the deaf schools around Cork City and County.
And how many kids are in your programme now?
We've about 60 on it now. Now we've a potential to do 3,000. You know, we've a lot of schools asking us to help them out, but again, we're relying on vans. So we need funds for, and we need.
Relying on people's generosity, and of course the Tesco Christmas appeal is kicking off, Hamp.
Yeah, that's right. That's happening this weekend at all the large Tesco stores across the country. They're asking customers to buy a non-perishable, put it in the trolley, whatever charity it is, doesn't matter. Help support them. Charities at this time are relying on generosity to help with the swell of need around Christmas time. So we're asking people, we're going to be in Tesco's Douglas, we're going to be in Tesco's Middleton this weekend. We're asking people to donate donate food as they're shopping.
And you can do it online for the first time ever this year as well.
That's right, which is very convenient. If you're an online shopper, you can buy a food parcel there. It's a very slick way to do it, and people don't even have to come into the shop.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking to us here this morning. You're doing fantastic work here in the ground. To all the volunteers here at Feed HQ down in Cork. Back to you in studio. Thank you very much. That was lovely.
Thank you so much, Deric, for that, for giving us a little bit of insight into what is happening around the country. Unfortunately, it has to happen around the country that so many people need those.
And thank you to the volunteers there. Obviously, that wouldn't be happening without them.
You're doing amazing work.
So, yeah, great work there. Now, a new survey shows that half of young people say they would cut back on eating meat and taking flights to save the environment.
I know some young people who won't walk half a kilometre down the road to the gym. But anyway, let us know your thoughts. More on that next. Time now to take a look at today's papers. We're going to start with the Irish Times. Its headline, Spiritans told to keep all records for possible inquiry. The government has requested that the Spiritan Order maintain all records related to sex abuse allegations in its schools, which have been at the centre of recent claims by former pupils.
The Independent leads with new squeeze on renters as thousands of landlords quit the market. The rental market has shrunk by 43,000 homes in the last 5 years, in a further squeeze on renters as landlords continue to cash in on their properties and leave the market.
Celtic Tiger developer has €170 million debts written off. That's the top story on The Examiner today. A Cork-based former dentist who became a major Celtic Tiger property developer has had a record €170 million in debts written off by the High Court.
The Mirror goes with boy 9 mauled by pit bull. A 9-year-old boy is lucky to be alive after he was mauled by a pit bull while playing near his home. The Star also leads with the same headline.
The Sun's front page, please don't jail my son. The mother of a man who accidentally shot his sister has begged a judge, don't jail him.
The Herald goes with pensioner's body lay in council house for a year. The skeletal remains of a tenant of a council house remained undiscovered for 12 months, despite 3 visits inside the property by council staff and the Gardaí during that time.
Oh my God. And finally, the Daily Mail leads with bonuses back for bankers. A ban on bankers' bonuses at banks bailed out by the state that were introduced following the financial crash is to be removed.
And News Talk Anton Savage is here with more on those stories. Good morning. We're going to start with bankers' bonuses back.
Yes, you will. If you remember, there was this small financial crisis thing that happened a couple of years back. Yeah. And during the bleakness of that, the state stepped in and effectively took ownership of all but one of the banks and gave guarantees to all of them. And as a function of that, they said, you know the way you've been paying your chief executives, I think 2.8 million was the top salary in the country? That stops. So the cap has been there ever since. There's two issues with the cap. One is one that I don't think there's going to be a lot of contention around, which is it limits variable pay. So let's say you're working at you're a business development manager in one of the regions for a bank. I hire you at 60 grand a year. You've had a great year. I'm actually not allowed bonus you at the end of the year to say good performance. So for the frontline staff, I don't think there's going to be much opposition to that. The other thing, of course, it does is it sets a cap for those over €500,000.
Oh, no.
I know. How would you make ends meet?
I don't know how I'm going to deal with that
Living on the clippings of tin, I think, is the technical term. The issue, though, is, first of all, there's a lot of them earning more than 500k.
Yes, there is. Yes.
Well, there's a lot of them who would be earning more than 500k if the cap wasn't there. The really frustrating thing, though, is how the markets operate. So if you're a publicly listed company, who you hire as your CEO and what your management team is has an impact on your share price. So if I can hire Murren, and I know that in hiring Murren, my share price will go up by X% and my market capitalization will increase by €1 billion, you're worth anything just south of €1 billion to me. Doesn't matter how hard you work. And that's the difficulty, is they're in a market against other PLCs.
This is all... It's all made up. The stock market, all of this. They can do whatever the hell that they want. These banks were mismanaged, that they brought this country to the brink of ruin. We recapitalised them. We were all living on austerity. We're still not out of it. What are we facing into next year? 11,000 people homeless. Yeah, let's give them more money. You're earning 500 grand.
I feel a rally coming on here.
What are we meant to do here?
I know, but the banks will say they are at a disadvantage, as you're saying, because they can't hire the right people to do the jobs. And that's what they're saying.
And the choice that we are left with...
But they didn't hire the right people to do the jobs, clearly, when they lost all their... when they mismanaged the banks.
This is a fine point. This is...
They were getting all their bonuses and...
This is one of those moments where, you know, with little kids at a certain point, you have to go, life isn't fair. This is one of those life isn't fair moments.
Calm down, Warren. Calm down.
Why? Is it not abhorrent?
I know it is. Look,
abhorrent?
we're talking about homelessness. We're talking about a cost of living crisis. I'm sure this is one that the cabinet they'll approve, but like to go away very quietly. Because this is not good optics.
No, and there has been 1 million reports done into this. They've had 1 million analysis. They couldn't have softened the ground more in advance of making this decision. And one of the things that facilitates the decision is the fact that Bank of Ireland has been now paid down by the state, or has had the shares paid down, so they no longer own it. So in theory, it's an entirely private entity. The choice, effectively, we boil down to is we say, look, do we want to permanently hobble our banks? Now, a lot of people would say, be entirely happy with permanently hobbling our banks. The argument to counter that is they will say, well, what that does is it means you effectively welcome in foreign banks and you have no Irish ones.
OK, but where's the oversight? We've all seen what happened. Like, we had... Oh, my God, it was an absolute disaster. And on a day when you're seeing in the front of the paper that a Celtic Tiger developer has 170 million euro written off, has to pay €80,000 in costs. That's it. And we've got 11,000 people homeless in this country. It is apparent and it's very hard to take. We would love to hear. I know.
I can only imagine what our viewers are going to say this morning. Only imagine.
6111. No. 089
611
360 60 60. What is wrong with me?
That's
Why can't I say that?
About the 500
611. What are you doing?
Oh, God, I'm so sorry. Let's move on.
There it is there. You see it? 089 611 111.
Sorry about that.
Young people are taking climate change a lot more serious than the predecessors.
Well, this is where you are so much more open and less cynical than I am, because I would have said that sentence as young people say they are taking climate change.
They're still going to take the flights, but in a survey, they'll sort of say, yes, we're taking it very seriously.
In a survey, young people said, and my favourite was that 1 in 3 16 to 24-year-olds said that they will be, at some point, adopting a plant-based diet to save the world.
Okay.
This is, I can't remember to whom the quote was ascribed, but you know that old biblical quote of, oh, God, make me pious, but just not yet. There's an element of the same there. Likewise, they say
You're
that...
such a cynic, Anton.
Well, let me find the positive in this. The positive in this is that climate change, which is the most significant issue facing the planet as a whole, is a significant issue for the next generation. That's what we want. They're taking it seriously. They believe it is going to be a major impact. They believe that they will make life-changing decisions, like not taking flights, like not having a car, like adopting a plant-based diet. As to whether or not they do any of those things, well, let's lob a couple of kids and a mortgage payment at them and see how they get on. But at least the intent is there, which is very positive.
Which is true,
I would like to hear from people, because I do know teenagers who do not walk. Like, they get lifts everywhere.
Is that the parents'
from
fault,
their
though?
parents.
Is that the parents' fault,
But they still won't walk.
But if the parents are making them walk, they'll have to walk.
But then they just stay inside in the house. They don't go anywhere.
No, but they have to go to school or college.
Love to hear from you. 0896 111 are the future. Do they really mean what they're saying? And finally, Joni Mitchell once said of Bob Dylan, Bob is not authentic at all. He is a plagiarist and his name and voice are fake. And now he's proved to be a fake once again. What's Bob Dylan been doing?
Well, Bob has been signing autographs. Let me correct that. Bob hasn't been signing autographs. Bob has been selling autographed copies of his book. Only it turns out that the autographs were done with an auto pen.
Yes.
Which to me sounds like another term for photocopier. So a lot of people have gone, this genuine Bob Dylan. Now, he's saying that it is a function of ill health and that because of this, he's struggling to sign a whole lot of books. But again, this goes back to the capital markets. You can't tell the market this is an autographed Bob Dylan book, which hikes its value through the roof.
And sells it for $600 instead of
$20.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And then you discover it's a photocopy of Bob Dylan. So there it is. There's one of the ones where, in theory, that was the great man himself signing it. But in actual fact,
compared them and it wasn't his signature. But he said it was an error in judgment and he just, because of ill health, he couldn't have signed all the 10,000 copies or something he was asked to sign.
It's true. And Bob
Dylan... then charge the 30 quid the book should have been, Bob, not the 600.
Bob is relatively new to this whole fame thing.
Gotcha.
Do you know, he's likely to be naive. He's only finding his feet.
He's naive.
Easy mistake to make.
It was his advisors.
Exactly.
It was his advisors.
He'll get there, give him time.
We'd love to hear from you today about those. Is autographs, is that still a thing? I thought that would have been well done. The selfie, all that kind of stuff. If you've got any of those, a picture of autographs that you have, we'd love to hear from you. 0896 111. Thank you so much, Anton Savage from News Talk.
And Tommy, I'm sure you needed a machine to sign all the autographs you were doing on the wreck.
Hey, that photocopying, what a great idea. Imagine at 81, though, signed 10,000 books, Bob Dylan. Not that he needs it. Anyway, thanks very much, guys. On the way, Panto stars James Patrice and Erin McGregor will be dropping by. The Monaghan woman who swapped her wedding dress for football boots, plus the Irish gamers funded by Usain Bolt. That's all coming up in the next couple of hours. See you after the break. Good morning. You're very welcome back to Tuesday's show.
They've been
Get the
slagging
coat
me
on.
all day about my cardigan, and this is why I have it, because I knew we were coming outside. Now, coming up, forget Qatar and the World Cup. It's all about FIFA Online. And no joke, looking into this,
Massive.
1 billion people are going to be involved in esports by 2025. Football stars Stephanie Roach and David Myler, they're going to be chatting about playing the game they love with a controller.
Did you play? Did you play any FIFA?
No, Mario Kart. Mario Kart only.
Mario Kart. Love that too. James Patrice and Erin McGregor are reuniting for the Panto. We're going to be talking dancing cows, family traditions and festive fun. That's coming up after 9.
Plus, we're going to sort you out with your stocking filler for the beauty lover in your life. Jennifer Rock, a.k.a. The Skin Nerd, is going to be here later on this hour. And then later again, we're going to be doing a Q&A. If you've got any questions for her, it's 0896 111.
Just what I need for the stocking. Now, Alan, what's happening in the kitchen?
Well, Tommy, Una Leonard is going to make us a lovely dessert. What treat have you got for us, Una?
I am using up all of the season's apples that are left over, and I'm going to make an apple and blackberry crumble.
Lovely. They're real Granny Smiths. I haven't seen one of them in
They're actually my neighbour's apples.
Are they?
Yeah, Melda's apples. My mum has like 2 buckets of them at the door, and I was like, I better use them up. We're coming to the end of them, so...
Yeah, smart move there. Looking forward to that little bit of dessert for breakfast. Loving it.
It's time now to take a look at today's papers. We're going to start with the Irish Times. Its headline, Spiritans told to keep all records for possible inquiry. The government has requested that the Spirit and Order maintain all records related to sex abuse allegations in its schools, which have been at the centre of recent claims by former pupils.
The Independent leads with new squeeze on renters as thousands of landlords quit the market. The rental market has shrunk by 43,000 homes in the last 5 years, in a further squeeze on renters as landlords continue to cash in on their properties and leave the market.
Celtic Tiger developer has €170 million debts written off. That's the top story on The Examiner this morning. A Cork-based former dentist who became a major Celtic Tiger property developer has had a record €170 million in debts written off by the High Court.
The Mirror goes with boy 9 mauled by pit bull. A 9-year-old boy is lucky to be alive after he was mauled by a pit bull while playing near his home. The Star also leads with that same headline.
The Sun's headline, Please Don't Jail My Son. The mother of a man who accidentally shot his sister has begged a judge, don't jail him.
The Herald goes with pensioner's body lay in council house for a year. The skeletal remains of a tenant of a council house remained undiscovered for 12 months, despite 3 visits inside the property by council staff and Gardaí in that time.
And finally, the Daily Mail leads with bonuses back for bankers. A ban on bankers' bonuses at banks bailed out by the state that were introduced following the financial crash is to be removed. Now we've got.
There you have it.
Doesn't that make you feel good? We've got lots of messages coming in this morning. We were speaking about homelessness earlier on. We will be getting to those. But first, we were talking about young people and climate change. And this is a survey, according to the ESRI, that say that 16 to 24-year-olds, they want no cars in city centres. They don't want to be driven anywhere. They never are going to take flights. They are going to become vegan in the future. Yeah. But it's not that they're doing it now.
Well, no, they do see climate change is a matter of urgency, are willing to sacrifice everyday conveniences to tackle the emissions.
In a survey.
Good on them.
But if you're a cynic like Anton Savage and you sort of say they'll say that in a survey, but will they actually do it? And Sharon says, my teens are really conscious of recycling. They love buying vintage clothes or swapping with friends. But would they refuse a sun holiday to save the planet? I don't think so.
Dean, young people say they'll cut back on flights, meat and cars. They say it. But will they actually do it? That's the difference.
I think they'll be better than our generation.
Yes.
I do think that they're going to be an awful lot better.
They definitely will.
Sharon says, my teens are really conscious of recycling. They love buying vintage clothes, go to charity shops. Oh, sorry.
Now, to be fair, my daughter's 5 and she is always giving out and wanting to recycle and go mad for people rubbishing and all sorts.
That's fantastic.
Quite upset about it. Like, she comes over and would be real upset if she sees people littering and stuff.
Is she learning that from you at home?
Yeah, sorry. I was going to say, no. Yes, she is. I am very conscious to do the recycling.
That's it. But this is from... You mentioned about teenagers. You know, I was like, I know a lot of teenagers that are being driven afoot down the road. Jared says, the taxi of dad is always on call. I've got 5 teenagers between 13 and 19 and I'm on call at all hours. I know it's my own fault, but when they can't get taxis at night, it's what dads do. It's me that has to make an appointment to go to the pub on a night out to keep them safe. And I totally get that, Jared. That is fantastic. I'm just wondering, when it's the middle of the day in summer and they want to go 5 feet down the road to the local shop, do you have to drive them?
Like at 2 in the morning if they can't get a cab. Completely understand that. But to go to school, being driven a half a kilometre to school every day.
Not all do. Like lots of bikes there. They're all continuing to bikes.
Get on the bikes then.
They do.
But that's what I'm saying. Blaming them. I was blaming the parents on driving them because if they get used to that, then they'll do that.
It's up to the older generation to lead this as well, though, Alan. Like it is. And Miriam says we all need to cut back on meat, flying and cars. It's not just the young people. I really think we need to take this more seriously. It is a big issue.
Certainly is.
Good on the young people.
I love the way he's so, because Tommy's down with the kids.
Down with the kids. His 5-year-old knows all about recycling.
With me, guys. Don't worry with these 2 oldies. Now, after the break, this is all me as well, Mo, about the game. And Ireland's football stars Stephanie Roach and David Myler are playing their favourite game, FIFA. You 2 wouldn't know end about it, Rebecca.
So cool.
Tetris.
So cool.
That's coming up next. Good morning, it's great to have you back. Now, Virgin Media are taking over Turner's Cross Stadium in Cork. Here we go, for a gaming event which will stream live on Twitch.
And Tommy's so down with the kids, he totally knows what Twitch is.
I'm all over the Twitch.
Footballers Stephanie Roach and David Myler will go head-to-head with Ireland's top Esports athletes, which is a huge business, by the way. And they join us now live from Cork, along with Virgin Media sport pundit Damien Delaney. It's lovely to have the 3 of you with us. Thank you so much. We're going to start, first of all, we can't ignore the World Cup. Stephanie, what do you make of the tournament so far?
Yeah, it's been great, hasn't it? I think it's been more a story of kind of shock results. I actually missed a couple of games yesterday with the Goal Fest, but yeah, I've enjoyed it so far.
And Damien, exactly, shock results. I mean, we saw Argentina lose to Saudi Arabia. We saw Belgium lose to Morocco. You know, do you think that the gap is getting smaller between the big European sides, the big South America sides? Do you think we might even see an upset when it comes to the latter stages?
I'm not so sure. I just think that it's a unique tournament in the time of year it's been held. There's been a really short build-up in terms of preparation for it. You know, there's Premier League games one weekend, the World Cup next weekend. So teams perhaps are a little bit tentative, but I fully expect all the big guns to get themselves going. And I think by the time we get down to the last 4, we'll be very, very familiar with all those teams.
Well, it's nice to see a few of the upsets because, Stephanie, I'm starting to think about the girls in green's first appearance in the World Cup in Australia next year, where, you know, we could be causing some upsets because, of course, Vera and the gang are planning for that right now.
Yeah, well, that's the hope, isn't it? I think it's absolutely brilliant the girls are getting to go to a World Cup eventually. I think it's been a long time coming, so it's brilliant to see. And I've been talking to people a lot lately, and I think it's going to be great to see if the country gets behind us and obviously having that World Cup fever. I mean, I grew up having it with the men's team, so now to have the women's team going to a World Cup is unbelievable. It's going to be a great tournament, I'm sure.
Oh, it's going to be so exciting. I really can't wait for it.
I know. I remember all those pictures from Walkinstown in Dublin where they were all over the place. I want that to happen again. Yeah, obviously, being very careful.
Huge excitement.
So good.
David, right, listen, tell us what's going on today. A huge gaming event, because I think people think about the FIFA World Cup, but FIFA online is nearly just as big.
Yeah, of course. And look, Virgin Media have just become a sponsor of the esports team Wild, and obviously they put on this event in Turner's Cross. So as you can see, myself, Stephanie and Damien are here in Turner's Cross. Obviously, the lads Kieran and Tyrone are going to join us soon, so we're going to be playing some FIFA. Obviously, there's this big campaign about gamers being athletes and, you know, the amount of dedication they have to put to FIFA and all computer games. So obviously, it's a massive day, and we're all looking forward to it.
And David, obviously your family are sort of really associated with Cork GAA, but you played professionally for Hull and for the Republic of Ireland. But when you retired, like I was on your YouTube yesterday and your Twitch, like you've got 336,000 subscribers. You're big into esports, like you got really high in this.
Yeah, well, I was technically the first professional footballer to get into it. I started before I retired, and it was just kind of something I saw as a downtime and a hobby that could take my mind away from football. I know people kind of find that a bit strange because I was playing professionally, but it was a great way to switch off, and I started uploading to YouTube, I started live streaming on Twitch, and I gained this huge audience, and it just kind of took off from there, and it kind of went from one place to another, and it's really... The esports world has really grown and it's really taken off, and you can see by, you know, these kind of campaigns today showing that gamers are athletes, and the amount of time they put in is just incredible, and I had to dedicate a lot myself.
I mean, before my kids came along, I was obsessed. Used to love playing FIFA, Call of Duty, and the competitiveness between the teams, David, like you would know this as well. Stephanie, even from your point of view, I mean, do many of the girls, do they play football like FIFA, or what's your competitiveness like on it?
Yeah, I don't think I'm quite as good as David now, but it sounds of things, so I think I may be a little bit out of my depth here today with the guys, but definitely would have been really interested in it growing up, and obviously when you're away with the teams, you have a lot of downtime, and just the way it's taken off over the last number of years has been like phenomenal. Obviously so many people are interested in it. Twitch, this game is going to be live on Twitch later on at 5 p.m, so there's going to be so many people watching that. There's always people watching live. It's just become a huge thing, you know, so I think for me today, I just kind of have to keep up with the guys and hope we don't make a show of myself.
Because, like, I remember the stories years ago about, you know, David James, the Liverpool goalie, and how they were like saying to him he was playing too much on the controller and that his hands weren't working as well. He injured his thumb. Remember those stories? But there's going to be 1 billion people who are watching esports by 2025. Massive, yeah. Like, this is taking over from people playing like actual, what we'd see as physical sports. So it is really, really legitimate. Damien, you're going to be there commentating on a game like you would on a World Cup game.
Yeah. I'm just going to treat it as a normal game. I think basically I'm here to represent the person at home that isn't quite sure what's going on. I'm not essentially a gamer, but I'm going to treat it as a normal game and just say what I see basically. But look, I get it. To get good at anything, to master any craft, you have to spend time, and it does take a lot of dedication and perseverance. And I'm pretty sure that David puts in enough time, and the guys that are coming tonight do too. So I have to respect that as well.
How do you commentate on an e-game whenever you don't, like, it's hard to tell the physical features of the difference between Messi and Ronaldo.
The little fella in the top right is going after the little fella in the bottom right.
Yeah, well, yeah. As I said, I just say what you see. Really, I think that's going to be my motto for the evening, and just call it as I see it. But I'm looking forward to seeing Dave because I've heard so much about him and his 300,000 followers. So I'm looking forward to it.
And David, Ireland's premier team is called Wild. Is it true it's owned by Usain Bolt, the sprinter?
It is, yeah. Obviously, he's got involved with obviously the esports team. Well, I'm still looking for him. We're obviously down at Turner's Cross. I'm waiting for him to appear. I don't know where he is, somewhere in the world. But yeah, look, it just shows you the kind of the esports world and how big it's become. Obviously, there's Lando Norris, who's a Formula 1 driver, Neymar, Ronaldo, the El Phenomenon, he's involved in a team. There's just so many people now are involved in esports. And obviously, Usain being in part of Wild is obviously massive because, look, he's one of the greatest athletes of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, like Sergio Aguero, David Beckham, they're all involved in these eSport teams now. And for you, David, because you've been involved in it a long time, obviously you were training on the pitch, then you were going home and doing what, like 9 hours practice off the pitch on the virtual pitch?
I wouldn't say 9 hours. I'd say anywhere between 6 and 7. It's not 9. It's not 9. It's not 9. Well, I have to be...
The technicality there.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that's precise. Yeah, exactly. No, but the thing was, there was a point when I was playing a lot. I was in the top 100 in the world, and obviously that came from a lot of, like we said, time, dedication. You know, we speak about the gear you need with your controllers, your console, reliable internet. Obviously, Virgin have the 99.9% broadband, which is obviously massive. But those small things matter so much, and I was very fortunate. Would you believe? I can't even believe I'm going to admit this. I've my own separate internet for my gaming station at home, which is different than the house's internet because if my kids are downloading stuff or whatever, I can't have any interferences.
You're like, Peppa Pig.
I do, yeah.
Peppa Pig is not going to destroy my game.
If I tried to tell my wife I'm heading off for 6 or 7 hours now, you can watch the kids because I'm off gaming. But there's serious money to be made in this as well. You're coming up against two of Ireland's top gamers. Yep. And this is actually a proper, legitimate job for these guys.
No, it is, 100%. I think the best example for a lot of people watching this who wouldn't understand, if you go back a few years ago when obviously Fortnite, just before COVID, Fortnite blew up, they had the World Cup event on in America, and the young gentleman who won it, he won $3 million. It just kind of shows you the level of where gaming is. Obviously with FIFA, they have the FEWC, which is held annually in London. That's for $250,000. So these events are massive now, and obviously the money is only getting bigger and bigger. And you know, certainly with lockdown, a lot of people were gaming a lot more, and the level of competition has gone up 2 or 3 bars. So there's so much time being dedicated to try and earn these big prizes.
Oh, very good. Listen, we'll have to check in later on. Of course, you can see it on Twitch as well. David Myler, Stephanie Roach and Damien Delaney, thanks so much for talking to us this morning. All the best. Stephanie, hopefully you can show the lads up.
I'll try. I'll do the women proud.
I'll meet you for a game of Mario Kart later on. It's fine, don't worry about it.
Good stuff, guys. All the very best. Thanks for joining us this morning. And of course, you can catch the eSports tournament powered by Virgin Media Broadband live on Virgin Media Ireland's Twitch this evening at 5 o'clock.
So down with the kids, aren't you?
This week on Ireland AM, we've teamed up with Lyrath Estate on the doorstep of Kilkenny City and have a break for 2 up for grabs. Nestled amongst 170 acres of mature parkland, Lyrath Estate offers guests a tranquil getaway just minutes from the famous attractions of the medieval city with its vibrant shops and Yulefest Christmas market. If you are looking for the perfect Christmas gift this year, then gift a memory and choose a Christmas gift voucher from Lyrath Estate in Kilkenny. Together with Lyrath Estate, we're giving you the chance to win a 2-night estate experience for 2 guests, with breakfast each morning and dinner on both evenings. The winner will also be treated to a falconry experience, afternoon tea and a spa treatment to really help you unwind. For your chance to win, just answer this question. Kilkenny is often called which of the following? Is it A, Granite City, or B, Marble City? To enter, call 1550 999 093 or text BREAK to 57199.
Good morning. It's Fruit Crumble, the classic winter dessert.
Una Leonard from 2210 Patisserie in Mullingar is here to show us how it's done. Good morning to you.
Good morning, guys.
How are we?
Good,
now,
good.
Your Granny apple, your Granny Smith apples. Well, they're probably not Granny Smith apples. They're from your neighbour.
Imelda Daly apples, I call them.
Imelda Daly apples.
Thank you very much, Imelda.
Yeah, so we have our apples. I've prepped them there just a few minutes ago, and I've frozen blackberries in the bottom of it. I just had a bag of them left over.
So you don't mind that then?
No, use whatever fruit you like and pop them all in together, and we'll go for it. So I'm going to use some cornstarch in this. So this will thicken up the juices of the fruit when it does cook in the oven. So you don't have like a really runny mixture then in the centre. So I'm going to put
that. Yeah, makes it kind of syrupy almost.
Yeah, and it's really, really nice. Mum does this all the time with her apple tarts as well, so you don't have the juices running across the plate.
Now, would that be corn? I've never heard of that.
Is it
well,
corn
then I don't
flour, I presume?
Corn flour, yeah.
Oh,
sorry,
it's corn flour.
Did I say corn? The same thing.
Yeah, corn flour. Okay.
So I have that, and then my sweetener as well. So I'm going to use about 100 grams of sugar in this. If you're using like your normal apples, if you're using your normal apples that are already sweet, you don't need to put as much sugar in. So kind of play around with it as you want it. Like.
So would you? I know you're sort of saying because your neighbour had these apples, but would you use just ordinary eating apples as well?
Yeah, at different times of the year, like you could use your normal eating apples, like just use them up. This is the best thing about fruit crumble. You can put as much fruit together as you want and use it all up and pop it into the oven. Like.
Do you have because there's a difference between cooking apples and normal apples?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter which you put in or which is better?
It won't. I just won't put as much sugar. Yeah,
sweeten
as much
it more with the cooking apples.
The cooking apples.
Okay.
So these are actually cooking apples.
Now, I've blackberries in the fridge, which I know are going to go off. Would you put them in?
Put them straight into the freezer, and like as you like,
put them into the
freezer. If you don't want to make a crumble straight away, put them into the freezer. That's what these come from. So if I have a few punnets left over, I'll put them into the freezer and then use them in a crumble or something like that afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I have my oats here. So this is the easiest.
The best bit.
Yeah, this is the easiest crumble topping. Like there's no getting your hands in. There's no rubbing it together. It's literally all ingredients in, butter on top, and it's really like oaty and crumbly and delicious. Okay. So we have our oats. And I have my flour as well, so I'm going to put all those in together.
Plain flour, obviously.
Plain flour. I've had an issue with flour before. I used the wrong flour in something. So we're using our plain flour, our oats. I like jumbo oats, but I didn't have jumbo oats at home, so we're using normal oats here. Yeah. Same thing. I have some brown sugar. I have some flaked almonds. Now, if you don't want flaked almonds,
I was going to say, why will you be putting flaked almonds now into it?
They're gorgeous and they're crunchy on the top.
So yummy. Wait until you taste it.
I love toasted almonds.
I love them as well. They're so nice. So we've flaked almonds going in there as well. We've some mixed seeds. So you can buy them mixed seed mixes and put this into it, but I just put a few different seeds that I have. So I have sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, and blue poppy seeds. So I'm just going to pop all those in there together. And I'm going to mix that up. Oh, I have a bit of cinnamon as well. Do you like cinnamon?
Yeah,
we're going to go
fired in.
Alan.
He's never happy with anything. To work with him.
Tommy likes it, so it's going in.
You know what I always think? I think the cinnamon sort of ruins an apple tart because all you can taste is the cinnamon.
Because it makes it kind of Christmassy and stuff,
it
though,
does,
isn't it?
But if you get the right quantity on it, it shouldn't taste too overly cinnamony.
All right, okay.
Should be fine.
Cinnamony.
That's actually really difficult to say.
Cinnamony, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, we got it. We got this right now.
So that seems quite a lot for... Are you going to put all of that on top?
I'm actually going to make... So this is a normal one for... As I have one coming out of the oven in a few minutes, I'll show you. So I used all of this in one. But actually, my mum robbed my proper dish for making the apple crumble. And I had a little argument with her over it last night. So I'm doing 2 small ones today.
Great. Just do one small one for the moment.
I'll do one small one, yeah.
And so you just put butter then over the top of it?
I'm literally melted butter in there. I have 250 grams of melted butter, and I'm just going to pour that over the top of it.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, mix it all together.
There's a few calories in this dish now, isn't there?
Just a few.
But you've all the goodness of the apples.
Oh, I know.
Exactly, the goodness of the apples.
Sugar and butter that's gone in here.
Alan, it's called dessert for a reason.
It is a dessert.
That's true. Yeah, it is a dessert. Yeah,
yes.
It's a treat at the weekend.
And this one is so handy, though, if you want to like pop it in even before you start making the dinner, and it'll be ready by the time you're out and ready to have your dinner.
How long does it go into the oven?
It goes in for about 40 minutes at 180, yeah.
Right.
So that's it. Your topping there is ready.
I love crumble.
And you can make that in advance. You can freeze it down. You can make it in double batches. It lasts for ages in it because there's no eggs or anything. So you can go ahead and make it, leave it in a container in the fridge when you're ready.
For breakfast.
That like that. Do you know what I've actually done with that before? Because I've made little cookies out of it.
Party.
Yeah. Well, take all the sugar out of it.
Than the sugar.
No, with the loads of butter in it.
So much butter
for breakfast.
Literally, yeah. So I have greased the base of my trays there, and I'm going to pop this mixture in first. So I'm only going to put half of this in.
Yeah.
I'll try not to get it everywhere. I might actually fit into this dish. This dish is actually surprisingly big. I know. Do you know what? I'm going to go for it.
Go for it.
Why not? Sorry for giving out about you, Mum. It's all right. I don't need me dish.
Sorry, ma'am. What's your mum's name?
Pauline.
Pauline.
She's actually going to kill me.
Sorry, Pauline. Don't rob the dish next time she's coming on Ireland
Like,
Beyond.
I make her something nice. I give it up to her, and it's about 3 weeks later, and I still don't get the dish back.
They're all the same.
But come here, do you get it back clean, though?
I do when she
Now,
wants
that's
something.
all right.
When she wants something. When she wants something.
Right, let's go.
And then we're going to go first. So we're literally just going to pack this in on top of it.
Well, Pauline's not getting any of this because I'm going to eat all of it.
No, and I'm not going to get any apple tarts off her or dinner this Sunday. Thanks very much for this.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, throw it in.
Yeah, fit, no bother.
Oh my God,
Well,
this
then
is
that's it's actually quite simple to make in its own way, isn't it?
So simple. So simple.
Oh. And then that goes into the oven for 40 minutes.
For about 40 minutes until it's nice and golden and crispy on top, and you can see the juices kind of bubbling on the outside.
Can we have a look at the one that's in there?
It would need the 40 minutes for the apples to really cook, wouldn't
Yes, it does, yeah.
Careful that now.
I know. The cleanest ovens in the country, huh?
I'm telling you.
Now, here we go.
Look at this.
There we go.
One,
And we're
give
going
us a scooper there, Al.
Yeah.
So will I take it out here, or do you have a proper big...
No, you go for it
I'll
there.
go
You
for
go
it
for it
here.
there. Yeah, I'll let you make the mess,
Look
and
at
then I
this.
can't get in trouble for it.
Oh, wow. Now, this is probably too hot, Tommy, though.
No, it won't be. It'll be perfect.
Look
But
at
you see,
all-
your juices aren't like too runny.
Yeah,
They
no,
won't run
yeah.
across the plate. They'd be perfect with a bit of
Gooey.
custard. Did anyone bring custard?
Did you not
No,
bring...
was I meant to do that as well?
Catherine Lane would have brought custard.
There'll be trouble.
Do you know what we need to do with you?
Don't mind me.
It's fine. You're giving out about calories, and then you want custard on top of your apple crumble.
I know. The crumble is
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah, very sweet and buttery.
Love it. Una, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy.
Fab. Love it.
That looks delicious. Now, the skin nerd, Jennifer Rock, is here with some great gift ideas for the beauty lover in your life. That's coming up after the break. Apple tart, Jen, for crumble? Yeah?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Welcome back. We have got loads of gift ideas with the wonderful skin nerd, Jennifer Rock. Thank you so much for joining us today.
for having me.
You've got a pile of stuff. We're going to try to barrel through them first of all. So we're going to start with skincare regimes. You've got something for us because this is ideas for people.
So this is the thing. This time of the year, you might be gifting to a teacher or a loved one or someone dear. So I have a little bit for everybody across the segments. So first up, I have Image, which is the refined collection. It's no secret how much I love Image skincare. And what I love about this is, first of all, it comes with a gift for purchase. You get your beautiful bag with it, which I always like to bring on my holidays or just leave in my bathroom and don't leave my house.
Yes.
But they have one of my go-to all-time cleansers, which is Illuma Cleanser. So it's a beautiful gel-like. It turns into beautiful, it kind of emulsifies on the skin. It really brightens the skin immediately, which I adore this time of the year when you feel slightly tired, a little bit fatigued, the skin slightly dull. That's definitely one to look for. The Facial Illuminator. So essentially this time of the year, you might look in the mirror and think that your skin is dull, dark, lethargic, pigmentation starting to show.
Yeah.
What this does is short-term, your skin just looks luminous and bright and dewy, but over a period of time, it actually corrects the cells where they've been damaged at a lower level through perhaps a little bit too much sun exposure. We've had a brilliant summer. Yeah. So that's a short-term and a long-term. And then Vital C Hydration Repair Cream. It smells divine. It's all about really respectful essential oils, but vitamin C is great for colour, collagen, clarity and hydration. So an all-rounder, as it says, it refines.
Yeah, this isn't for the teacher though, I'm sorry. It's €167, so it's for someone that you love.
This one's, yes, and it's definitely like looking at what your partner has on the bathroom shelf.
Yeah.
Do they or he or she want it? And maybe perhaps gift it. And it's suited for all skins, which is great.
Lovely. Up next, we're going to, you love Pestle and
I
Mortar
love
as well.
Pestle and Mortar, so I have so much respect for Sonia DC, who is the founder of all things Pestle and Mortar, but it comes from the concept of really like clean, clever, like really, I suppose, results-driven ingredients. This is the Skin Rescue Kit. So it's extremely affordable. It says $21.99, and it's the Essentials Body Cream. So there's a couple of different products in here. Now, if you go online and look at their photographs, you will see that there are phenomenal results with it. It's extremely calming. So it has niacinamide in it and really hydrating ingredients to lock in.
Niacinamide?
Niacinamide is vitamin B3. So it's a really powerful ingredient where you hear a lot about retinols and acids, but sometimes they can be too irritating, a little bit too extreme for a sensitive skin.
Okay.
This is ideal. So it's 99% 100% natural formulation, vitamin E and niacinamide. And what I love about this whole concept is that it's the sister range to their core range, if you will, but it's dermatologically proven, it's midwife approved, it's pediatrician approved. So it really is, for the whole family, there's something inside there.
And it is, when you hear that kind of midwife approved...
Tick, 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 yeah.
100%.
And they, everything that Pestle and Mortar do are just top dollar, really, really invest in it. And it's all about the correct ingredients. And Sonia herself has a couple of children, so she really does look after what's for the whole family.
Whole family
so, yeah,
here.
Thumbs up.
Okay, so Ultraceuticals.
Ultraceuticals is their mattifying duo. So Ultraceuticals is a brand from down under. It's a brand that's getting a lot of notoriety, thankfully, in Ireland. It's only available in clinics. It's not available readily. You really have to be highly qualified and trained to be able to stock it.
Why is that?
So,
because of active ingredients in it?
Active ingredients, and it comes from a more, I suppose, chemistry perspective and from a doctor-led area.
Okay.
So they really want to ensure that who's recommending it truly understands the skin from an anatomy physiology perspective, that they're not going to just recommend for the sake of recommending. It's all about why and who it's for. So first of all, can I just take note of the packaging, because I think the packaging is beautiful. It's done by a local artist. But ultimately, their claim is that you'll see a result within 90 days. So I think that's quite a bold statement. So Ultraceuticals is all about ultra, and ceuticals means it's the advanced skincare that penetrates into the skin. But to say that you'll see a result within 90 days really means that they're truly believing in what they do and what they say.
Yeah.
So this is their UV protection SPF 50. Again, because it's from the lower hemisphere, it really means their SPF is true. Like, they all have to be. SPF 50 means it truly has that protection, but there's more science in it perhaps than your norm that you might find readily available. And then also the ultra hydrating cream as well. So for me, this is an all-rounder, complete hydration, really thorough products, and the proof's in the pudding.
These are our first three. We're going to have three more for you in just a little while, where we're going to be dealing with hair and makeup and all that kind of stuff. But also, if you want to send in some questions for Jen at this time of year, like the sort of questions you're getting are cracked skin, I assume, blotchiness, dry skin.
How do I prepare for a party on a Friday night and it's Wednesday and I haven't maybe looked after myself in a few days? There's lots of those questions coming through in our DMs anyway.
Love a sheet mask. So send them in. You know what to do. It's 089 611 111. If you've got a question for our skin nerd, please do let us know, and we'll make sure to get them to you later on, because you've got more to show us very shortly. Yes, so Jen will be back in just a while. There's plenty more still to come after 9. We'll talk to you shortly.
You're very welcome back to the show. It is the 29th of November. Oh, Christmas is getting closer.
It certainly is. And speaking of Christmas, coming up, Panto stars James Patrice and Erin McGregor are dropping by for a chat.
Oh, no!
Oh, yes. Oh my God! So I'm going to be hearing that between now and the 8th of January. So, oh yes, I will.
I mean, listen, this is what you live for the next month, I'm afraid, Al. Coming up very shortly, the Monaghan footballer who swapped her wedding dress for football boots. Look at that. And a helicopter. She's going to tell us about the double celebrations at the weekend.
Yes, Muireann, what have you got? Some more gifting ideas for Christmas?
Think of the helicopter, the Celtic Tigers. Back, lads.
It's
Unreal, isn't it?
It's back.
So Jennifer has had to get questions from the two lads for the past few minutes. What'll I get this person? What'll I get that person? The skin nerd, Jennifer Rock, has stayed with us. More beauty gifts on the way. Plus, you will be taking questions.
I will indeed. And we're really focused on Irish gifting, which I'm very proud to represent in our
all down here. We're going to do those in a while. Any questions for Jennifer? It's 089 611 111. Welcome back. Now, earlier on, we were talking about this event that's taking place in Turner's Cross today, and it's a massive esports event whereby two of Ireland's top players in football who play computer on FIFA are going to compete against each other, and a lot of it is Alan's like, what's happening? I don't know what it is.
I watched the whole interview and I was going, what, Twitch, what's that now? So who's that?
Are
what
we
do you
not meant
do?
to be talking about Tipperary Crystal?
No,
well, we can in a minute.
Okay, let's talk about Twitch.
Twitch, because it was just to explain what it is.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So it is a video live streaming service that focuses on video game live streaming. So it focuses on sports competitions as well. So if you're watching it, you're watching people play Minecraft, play Fortnite, play FIFA. So you're watching people as they play and they live play, or you're watching people break down the stock market.
Are you just watching them with the things in their hands?
Yeah, it's huge.
And you're watching people do that?
Go around playing games and you're just commenting and talking on the side. Yeah,
so there's a guy from Offaly called Jacksepticeye, and he's he's a massive Twitcher. He's a multi-millionaire. There's a few Irish really big ones. One of them was in Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds, because they're commenting on the game that Ryan Reynolds is in. It's a huge thing.
Should people not get out more, no?
They should, yeah. Well, actually, that follows
They should
on
go to Panto,
a text we
shouldn't
just
they,
got.
Al?
So Laura said, I think more kids play football online than actually in the field these days.
Yes.
Which is the way things are going.
But it's not good, though.
But like these
It's not
computer games
good.
in America, they're done in stadiums now. So there's like 100,000 people in a stadium watching kids playing against each other on a computer game.
So you've
It's amazing.
100,000 people in a stadium watching people on their screen doing that.
Like you'd watching a rugby match.
But at
or a
least when
football
you're
match.
watching the rugby match, it's all unfolding and the tension is there. And
Watch, they're unfolding in front of you. Listen, he's not into it. I don't think we'll ever have a twitcher here from our Alan.
twitching is bird watching, isn't
But it means that they don't have to get on flights and they don't have to go in cars. They just stay in the thing. They're doing their bit for the
They're
environment.
doing their bits for the. We were talking about that earlier on as well. Now, Tipperary Crystal are celebrating the joy of giving with an emphasis on showing appreciation to your local community. You can check it out on tipperarycrystal.ie.
Now, this week, we are giving a deserving person in your community the chance of winning. Listen to this, €3,000 worth of Tipperary Crystal goodies just in time for Christmas.
How much?
€3,000, Tommy.
To nominate this special person, please email their name and why they should win to irelandamcomp@virginmedia.ie. The very best of luck.
Yes, indeed. Now, James Patrice and Erin McGregor are talking all things panto next.
Well, it is the season to be jolly, and it's not even December yet. And here to put a festive smile on our faces, James Patrice and Erin McGregor. Good morning to you both.
Good morning. How are you?
Erin, yeah, we're nearly in the fest. Look at it, so with Christmas trees and everything else. Have you got the Christmas trees up at home? Is this an exciting time of the year?
It's so exciting. Yes, we put it up on Saturday. I think we had them up. So Terry was like, oh my God, there's so much stuff, but I absolutely love Christmas.
He says that as well, because this is the argument I have with my wife, is there's so much stuff.
I know.
So much stuff. And going down the stairs, I have like a lovely garland going down the stairs, and he's like, I can't go down the stairs. I'm like, shh.
Is this you now? Is this yours? Is this you putting this up?
Yes.
Oh, look at that.
Very festive.
Very festive.
Well, that's lovely, Erin.
That's lovely.
You
James
must have slept a wing.
You're not allowed to touch it.
You come in here and sit the set here as well?
Yeah. You love it as well, James, don't you? Your family love Christmas and you love it as well, yeah.
We had the tree up there now. When did I start
Since
putting it up?
October.
Yeah, literally, actually haven't put it down. Last Tuesday we put it up. So the tree is the important part. It's kind of like a work of art. And I'm very particular. And even growing up, people with the family was like,
this is your name. How long did that take you?
That was a few hours. No one's allowed to touch it.
And you're like both of you. Don't touch the tree.
Yeah. Oh, this is some lovely
You're allowed to look.
panning shots there. Beautiful.
Look at that.
Was
lovely.
Christmas always like this in your house, growing up?
Yeah, we've always loved it.
Definitely for me. Like, my mum literally paints, decorates, brand new bedclothes. Like, it's crazy in our house. She absolutely loves Christmas, still to this day.
I remember years ago my sister painting the kitchen on Christmas Eve.
Stop.
So many people do it. No. Are you serious?
What would they be painted for?
Just for Christmas Day, to have it all lovely.
Because when Santa comes down the chimney, like, he does totally check everything. You do know that, right? The skirting boards are clean.
He has the flash
and
mop out.
yeah,
He's going.
I'm telling
Fair
you.
play, yeah. You have to commit.
Oh, God. And of course, with the arrival last year of your sister's baby, so that must have been added an extra special.
Oh, it really did. I have to say, Anya, she was last November, so she's just gone a year there now. So last Christmas was amazing. She hadn't really any clue what was going on. She just kind of sat there.
But this year,
now, she's more excited, and she's enjoying all the lights and everything, and she's a little personality. So we're so excited for it now. It's
there she is, there with the family.
There we are.
Look at that.
And are there any kind of Christmas traditions now that she's part of the family? Will all come together for it?
Just try not to kill each other, I suppose. That's a great tradition, you know what I mean? In any household. But, we were definitely starting that. They went to see Santa the other day, and I've bought every single Christmas outfit available in the shops. So she's something for every day of the month of December. So, yeah, it's very exciting, and that's what it's all about.
I was going to say, because the perfect godfather, but you are a godmother in panto, are you?
Well, sometimes I'm a fairy godfather.
A fairy godfather?
My mom was busy. So or godbrother. So they'll get me actually, I prefer a godbrother. It's a bit younger.
Oh, right.
Yes. So there we
are. Look at that.
Because that's it. You're back with Ollie, Polly and the Beanstalk in the Olympia. And because last year, wasn't it? It was all going ahead until literally the day before because of COVID.
Yeah, it was the week. We're due to open the Wednesday. I think it was the Sunday. They said it's not happening.
It was the day before we were to go into the theatre.
You're right.
Really?
Yeah.
Heartbreaking stuff it was. And, you know, we said it there earlier. It was the kids. They were distraught. They were rehearsing for weeks on end beforehand. And it was just seeing them was heartbreaking. But this year now, we're ready.
They're all
ready for action.
ready to rock.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because you had it all rehearsed last year, so you're just rolling in on the 5th of December, the night before. Tro's on an old costume there. I remember it all from last year.
I wish. It's so funny because we sat down to look at the script again, and they kind of had to rewrite everything. The amount of COVID references.
It's not funny.
Last year,
Yeah, it's not funny now because it's like,
you know, 2
really
meters or 2 kilometers, all this kind of stuff. And so now we're like, okay, we might need to jazz that up. So they have.
I love the way before the two of them were discussing. Are we saying we've been trying to rehearse it for ages? Are we not? I've been rehearsing for a week. Like, exhausted.
But it's true, and people don't want to hear the COVID jokes now. We're over it.
But you don't realise how funny something is until it's not funny anymore. And you're like, but that was so funny last year. But it's like,
it was so relevant.
So relevant. And like none of the jokes now are relevant anymore, right?
No, so they've kind of made it, you know, it's more hopeful. COVID is, we're going to say it's gone, aren't we?
Yeah, well, we have to. We have to. We're living with it.
Oh, yes, it is.
We're living with it now. We're living with it. We have to live with it. I mean, we just have to get on with it.
Absolutely. And you know yourself, Alan, I think it's just really definitely hopeful this Christmas that families can go and enjoy a show and not be stressing and worrying about things, you know.
Oh, we'll talk of stress, because you're so busy. You're both very busy at the minute, but you've been quite open and talk about your anxiety as well, Erin. Like, and Christmas is a stressful time for everybody, no matter what it is. But you've also got the panto. You've got so much going on.
So much
do you
going
have
on.
tips? Do you have stuff that kind of you need to remind yourself on a daily basis
As
to
I'm
help with your
literally
anxiety?
like sitting here rubbing my crystals. So like I have a collection of crystal jewellery and I would use that like to centre myself.
Get the plug in, Erin.
Really?
I get the plug.
in.
No, I guess. No. James.
Sorry.
I'm totally, if you forget a line on panto, I'm going to make it a big thing now,
I'm
okay?
rubbing my crystals as well. We all have them, Erin. Alan, rub Tommy's crystals.
I know. We might, the HR might be down if we did that.
There's a tip. Have fun. Have fun. I think that's probably sometimes that we really forget we're in the midst of anxiety, that like having laugh and joke can literally elevate it. That's why I love panto. Like, it is difficult. It is a difficult time for me at Christmas, especially with a small child with, you know, additional needs.
Yeah.
It's hard to leave him for that amount of weeks, and panto takes so much time. But I have so much fun with these guys. Like, it literally brings me back to life again.
Yeah. Right. And with the build-up being an anxious time for you, building up to it, like learning the script, or is that all part of the fun?
No. I would get really anxious. I always do. I'm so used to doing it now that it's just kind of part of the routine. Like, I get really nervous behind and I have to, like...
I think you kind of psych yourself up, even though you don't need to, because you're so well able for it. Like, you know.
Then I'm afraid not to psych myself up in case then I'm like, I didn't worry and now I'm actually really bad.
Oh, yeah, you're not as good.
I'm not as good because I didn't
People always
worry.
say it's good to have some nerves.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's important, definitely.
Just to get out there and perform. But you love performing, though, don't you?
Do you know what? It's that moment where, like, you just forget everything. I forget about my worries. I forget about everything. And I'm just in a green wig, in a crazy outfit, living my best
Having
life.
a laugh.
Having a
And
laugh.
you have a great crew a part of it as well. Brian Andrews, McLean Burke. Like, there's a great group there. It's kind of like a team, like a family almost.
It's so good. So we actually had promo last week, and I didn't tell the guys this, but everybody had left the building, and Natasha was still there. She was picking up all our costumes and stuff, and she was apologising to the guy about all the glitter, and he's like, actually, he said, it brightened up my morning. The crew and the cast, he said, they genuinely really get on. That must come across on stage every time. And she was like, yeah, they get on so well. So it was really good to hear somebody else's opinion of how much fun they could actually see us having. So that's how close we are. Like, we love each other, right?
That's great, it is. And it's like every year you might not see each other one end of the year to the next.
Yeah, then you get all get together.
And, like,
you must be delighted for Ryan.
Yes!
His nuptials.
I know.
His little dad, but he's going to have a big one next year, is
in
he?
summer next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
but they just went off and just did a little one together.
To their little...
They're official.
Official bit.
They got married, by the way, in case people were going, what are you talking about?
I think
They actually
you're going to be
met
a groomsman as well. You're going to be part of the party as well,
I'm
potentially.
going to be one of Ryan's groomsmen.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's very exciting. Yeah.
And you spoke as well, from your own point of view, your own dating conundrums at the minute. minute that you're almost like a detective.
Yeah, you have to be. I was, you know, if you ever see someone online or you know on Tinder or whatever, and you find them, I can get their PPS number and I'll get what they have for breakfast. Just give me 5 minutes, guys. And yeah, it's important.
Do you find you have to do that?
Do you
it's a different world, isn't it?
It's I suppose nowadays it's gone a bit odd because you know people might follow you or you might follow them. And you kind of get a preconceived notion of who they are just from a social media profile.
So you're looking for a man?
If anything's going, you know.
Are you like that because you're sort of well known and you feel people might be taking advantage of you?
I suppose you just have to kind of protect yourself a bit sometimes because, as I said, you know, someone might, you know, follow me and say, oh, Janie, he's going around either in a green glitter costume or he's screaming his head off, dressed up as a 6'8" Malahide woman. Yeah, and you just don't know what they're kind of thinking of you. So I suppose it's good just to do a bit of research. Market research beforehand. Well, just to check. No, obviously we never judge or anything like that, but you just want to make sure.
What kind of research would you do?
You need to know, sure.
What questions would you ask somebody?
Well, I wouldn't ask them. It's all behind the
you'd
scenes.
be doing.
And then if you do eventually meet them, they'd be like, oh, well, I actually, I studied this. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I know everything about it. I have actually got certain results.
A full dossier behind here.
Put on the PowerPoints beside them, you know what I mean?
Thank you so much for coming in. Of course, Ollie Polly and the Beanstalks on the Olympia from 21st of December until the 8th of January. And listen, with you two part of it and everybody else, I'd say it's going to be a hell of a laugh.
Thanks,
Great
to
see you. And Erin McGregor. Thanks so much. And Merry Christmas. Still to come, the Monaghan footballer who got a helicopter to a crucial match just hours after a wedding. Amazing.
Yeah, I tell you now, and plus the Skin Nerd answers all your skincare questions. We're going to see you after this quick break.
Can't believe that's it.
This week, Ireland AM have teamed up with MacD's.ie to give a lucky viewer the chance to win a €2,000 voucher for their online store. MacD's.ie provide a massive range of products to suit all your Christmas home and garden needs. You can create your dream Christmas with a fantastic selection of Christmas trees, lights, and deck the halls with wreaths and baubles. MacD's.ie also offer an array of quality outdoor items, ranging from outdoor furniture, barbecues, fountains, and solar lights, and take great pride in being able to offer quality products at the best prices. MacD's, creating magic in every home. To be with a chance of winning this amazing prize, simply answer this question. Which plant is used as a traditional Christmas decoration? A. Poinsettia or B. Orchid. To enter, call 1550 999 200 or text prize to 57199.
Very best of luck. Now, our next guest was faced with the ultimate dilemma when her All-Ireland semi-final match was arranged for the same day, same weekend as her wedding.
I mean, you want to have a good crack at your wedding, don't you? What are you going to do? Monaghan footballer Cathriona McConnell is here to tell us all what happened. Hello, Cathriona, and congratulations, first of all.
Double congratulations.
Newlywed. Darren's over there. He's not coming anywhere near us,
he's
so he's not.
Away.
Listen, you're on the cover of all the papers. You and your helicopter going to your All-Ireland semi-final. Yeah. When the fixture was put, like, when did you find out that it was on the same weekend as your wedding?
Well, we did get the fixtures at the start of the year and we did look them up and we realised that the All-Ireland semi would be the same weekend as the wedding if we got to it. But I suppose we just had to take one game at a time, and then I suppose when we got over the Ulster final, we realised it's reality now. But as I said, we were lucky it wasn't on the Saturday because the other semi-final was on the Saturday.
Oh,
so
really?
Yeah, the other All-Ireland semi was on the Saturday. So
okay.
That would have been a even worse dilemma.
I was just about to say, quickly get married, go away, come back again.
So you got married on the Saturday, got to stay up and enjoy the celebrations to an extent, and then had to get a helicopter back to Donamoyne for the match. I mean, there's a right bit of pressure on when you're arriving in a helicopter for a game.
Yeah, that's it. There probably was a wee bit more pressure put on. I was thinking, I can't get a helicopter maybe and jump out and maybe not fit to play with tiredness. But no, thank God, we got over the line. And
but because you got married in Cavan, right? So obviously, you know, they want you. Who organised Who said, sure, we'll sort you a helicopter?
The local club. Let's not get into the...
No. But I'm just saying, when they said to you, you know, you'll be able to stay longer.
Yeah.
Will you take a helicopter? Were you like, absolutely?
Oh, yeah. Why not? Yeah. Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah, fair play to the club. They organised it, and it meant that I did get to stay on the next morning and, you know, mingle with my guests from the night before. And there was a great buzz around the hotel the next morning. And, yeah, you hear the helicopter coming in, and they're like, right, time to go. So they're all like watching me taking off. So, yeah.
And were many of the other girls there had stayed over as well, or were they at the party the night before as well?
Oh, yeah, they were at the party the night before, yeah. But most of them went home the night before. Yeah, my sisters were there as well. They play, but they had to head on earlier. They got the car journey back home. It was only me that got the helicopter.
And you fairly delivered. I mean, you played, scored 7 points. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty phenomenal in an All-Ireland semi-final.
Yeah.
That's you and the teammates, by the way, just to let everyone know.
Oh, yeah, very good. Yeah.
Look at them all dressed up.
Yeah, no, it was brilliant. Like that, I was saying, there was probably a wee bit of extra pressure on me, maybe going to the match. But, yeah, thankfully, yeah, I did play well enough.
I had assumed, because I asked Darren, your now husband, earlier on, I was like, oh, God, and did you stay up at the wedding, you know, when Cathriona was gone to bed? And he was like, no, we went to bed at the same time. What time did you stay up until?
Oh, it was probably maybe 4 or half 4.
Not having a drink, hanging up with all of these people. Oh, look, you're gorgeous.
Oh, isn't that class?
So you did really get to enjoy yourself.
Oh, I did, yeah. And fair play to the club and the management and the girls. They said that, you know, your wedding is the biggest day of your life. So they said, enjoy your day and celebrate as much as you can. And then when you get up Sunday morning, worry about the game. So that's what we did.
You've taken the scalp of Kilmacud Crokes, which is a great scalp to take. And you're looking forward to the All-Ireland final, which is taking place in December. So how are the team feeling? You've got to be on a high after that, especially scoring so much.
Yeah, no, absolutely delighted. Can't believe, you know, we're getting to tug out and play in Croke Park. Like, this is the first year the All-Ireland Club finals are in Croke Park. So just delighted, really looking forward to it. Yeah, back training tonight, and we'll get our heads down now and look forward to the final.
And you've been very successful in football. I mean, you've won a Ladies Footballer of the Year award and also even just a Woman of the Year award for services to sport.
Yeah.
Is it important and to see the recognition that women's sport in particular is getting recently? Yeah. It must be so positive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's brilliant. I suppose every year it is getting bigger and women in sport is becoming more and more popular. So, yeah, it is. It's fantastic to see it because I suppose we do put in as much effort as anybody else. So it's great to get the recognition. Yeah.
But it's not just performative. It's just a great spectacle. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, because you played my sister as well.
Yeah, I did.
Back in Monaghan as well.
Was she any good?
Oh, she was, yeah.
Of course she was.
Much
she was
better than me. She's the talent
she
in the
was
house.
the good one, yeah.
Listen, I would see that. The training and the work that my sister and girls, it's level par with the guys. So, I mean, it's so important that they do get that recognition too.
Exactly, yeah.
And you had, of course, been a Monaghan inter-county footballer. And then you had your gorgeous girl, Amelia, who I believe is watching.
Yeah, she is, yeah. She's watching and she's at school this morning in Cliodhna National School, so she's out there watching us this morning. So
good
hello,
morning
Amelia.
to Amelia. What's her teacher's name?
Miss McCormick.
Mrs. McCormick. Hopefully Amelia's behaving herself today now. I'm sure she
They're
is.
watching in class.
Mum's on the telly.
I think so, yeah.
Oh, that's a special one, isn't it?
That is actually really when the TV is wheeled into the room. You know that it's going to be a very special day inside in school. So even for her, I suppose, you know, kind of you took that step back, but then for her to see the sort of sacrifices that you make for something that you love, because sport has been proven to be so important to girls' confidence.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, she does. She comes along to the games and even she might come up to an odd training session and, yeah, she loves it. She loves the crack. And the girls, you know, she gets on really well with all the girls. So she thinks she's great, you know, coming to training and she knows all the girls and that. So, yeah, no, she does. She loves going to the games, yeah.
So tell me, you're meant to be on honeymoon now, are you?
Well, yeah, we're going to go away for a few days maybe, yeah, but I suppose we have the All-Ireland final to look forward to, so we'll not be going away for too long.
Well, this is the sacrifices that you have to make as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And is it the sort of thing, like, you know, the amount of attention this has received?
No.
Like, you can't have expected that.
No, not at all. My phone was hopping yesterday morning and I was going, what is going on? But yeah, no, it was crazy. Yeah, it just took off. I don't know. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Like, I was just trying to get to the pitch on time and as quick as possible. And then next thing it's all over the papers and people ring in and stuff. So
how long did it take you to get to the pitch?
It took about 20 minutes or half an hour. So
Hope
yeah,
they
it's
took the
grand.
scenic route as well. And
Yeah.
go see all that.
Did you ever get that?
Oh, no, not for a match. I didn't, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Cathriona, thank you so much
No
for
bother
coming in
at
to
all.
see
Thanks
us as
for
well.
having me. Thank you.
Up Donaghmine, up
Yes,
Monaghan, doing
yeah.
us proud as well. And hopefully on the 10th of December, there's going to be a big crowd there to
Yeah,
watch you come
hopefully,
and try and take the trophy home.
Brilliant.
Great to have you with us.
Thank you. Thanks very
Lovely
much.
to have you here. Thank you so much, Cathriona. Now, up next, the Skinner, Jennifer Rock, shares her best beauty buys, plus she answers all of your skincare questions. We'll talk to you very shortly. Hello, welcome back. The Skin Nerd is here to answer your gift-giving prayers and sort out the stocking for the skincare fanatic in your life. Welcome back, Jennifer. We've kept you here all morning. We've got 3 more boxes to go through, and then we'll get to some viewer questions. So let's talk about Kate. She's amazing.
Kaylee is phenomenal. So
Kaylee's
her brand
unbelievable.
is Cash. This is her Cash Beauty, her signature gift set. So first of all, she's like the looks she can create are incredible. She is a true artist in the sense of makeup artistry. Not only can she do beautiful pieces, but she also can do the most simplistic makeup. For someone like, I won't speak on your behalf, but I'll definitely speak on my behalf. I could not replicate what she does.
Nope.
But this gift set, I feel, is suited to all. Firstly, the palette is so inside it, you get your lipstick, you get your blush, you get your pencil, you get a liner, you get lashes, and you get your eyeshadow palette, which has your 9 different colours.
Yeah.
But the pigment in these are genuinely beautiful. And for someone who isn't maybe au fait with makeup as much as I would be with skin, what I find delicious about this is that the pigment comes on immediately. So once you apply it with your brush, it just transfers to the eyelid. It really doesn't move. So anyone that has quite an oily lid or might have a hooded lid, it really does not transfer. So you have matte and shimmer, everything that you need in there, and quite beautiful tones that suit all skin colourings. And also,
like the pigment is just there.
That's
It's
what I mean.
absolutely
It's
going
straight
to
away
work.
there, and it's very forgiving. The cheek blusher, I generally adore this. This is quite an interesting tube, so a little bit on the cheek goes a long way. And then also this lip duo is the most, and I would be quite fussy with a nude lip. I don't like it to have too much of a pink in it, but not too much of a brown. I genuinely believe that she's nailed it. Her lip products and the eyeliner are just so easy to use, long lasting, and it's so freaking affordable.
She is absolutely
She's
fantastic.
global.
And watching her videos, if you are trying to learn how to do makeup, I would say herself, Susie AU from Beauty, and Amy Connolly, they really do help. Like, they can do really simple stuff. It's fantastic.
They are. But this pencil, sorry, it's just for someone who is as blind as a bat as I, it's really important that you have a beautiful nib that you can apply it so easily to the mirror, but that it just transfers easily and you can smudge it out if you're not too confident with a liner. So just, I generally do think this is a beautiful, supporting Irish and a beautiful gift for all ages.
Completely. Now, let's another Irish here.
Yes, very proud. So this is our Ella and Joe. So Ella and Joe, so this is Charlene, who is a makeup artist, and there's also Niamh Ryan then, who is our skincare therapist. So a brand that's just going from strength to strength. I think they celebrated their 5th birthday not so long ago. So within this set, this is their nighttime ritual gift set. You have one of their best-selling products, which is their cleansing balm. You have it underneath in the bottom box.
Okay.
And this, so I actually have one opened earlier here.
Thank you.
So this is the Melt of the Day Away Cleansing Balm. So it has squalene, coconut, grapeseed in it. A little bit of this with dry hands all over the face just takes away a multitude. So if you're wearing your SPF, which is a non-negotiable as we know, but if you're wearing heavier makeup over the Christmas period and more festive and glitter and lines and lashes, all sorts, this truly, like the name says, it literally melts the day away, but it's forgiving to the skin. It really gives back to the skin. So you actually a mitt comes with it. So you just use your mitt and remove the entire day. They also have their night cream in there as well, which has bakuchiol and peptides. It's all about giving back to the skin. A little bit of a roller, a nice jade roller, which I've talked about many a time, and then the little eye mask as well. So essentially you have a lot in one and extremely affordable.
I love
supporting
an
Irish,
eye mask.
Extremely hydrating.
Brushes.
I think this time of the year, brushes, because you obviously need to sing into the brush, right? Like that's what. So Soho Hair is another Irish brand, phenomenal brand. This is their Christmas gift set. This one I adore.
How does a brush work?
Okay, so
Jen?
how does please demo.
Welcome to Morty. How does a brush work?
I'm a real diva when it comes to a brush. Okay, you and I know how much time I spend talking about my hair and get my hair done. But this, I do. But inside this, I want to make sure I get it right. First of all, what you have there beside you is the shower brush. I do think this is quite clever because I don't have a lot of space in the shower, so I'm up and down trying to brush it and bring it in and out of the shower. So this is your dedicated shower. Thank you for demoing the hook so beautifully.
I'm a hook. There we go.
But essentially, the concept behind these is that when you brush with it, you're essentially stimulating your scalp, so you're bringing blood to the area, which then in turn helps to nourish the hair. And so the healthier the hair, the shinier the hair, the better the hair.
Brush down
How many
again.
times can you say hair? Thank you for helping.
So that is a brush. And actually, I would say I've got dandruff. It's important to have a brush in the shower, like a scalp brush anyway, just to get it going.
But also for how you want the finish of the hair to be. So I like it to look kind of like a slightly soft Hollywood glam. So I think it's important that the bristles are soft. They're kind to the scalp.
There we go.
But it is, and it's supporting art. Extremely affordable.
Congratulations.
And yes.
That's it. Just some gift ideas that we have today. That's going to all be there. We're going to move on to some of your questions you've sent in. So many of them. First one from Barbara today. Barbara's wondering what strength retinol you would recommend starting with.
So for anyone that doesn't know, retinol is essentially a form of vitamin A. Vitamin A is one of those key ingredients that helps with lines, wrinkles, pigmentation, discolour. It's a really key ingredient when it comes to skincare. That and SPF and cleansing are probably the three that I would lean on the most. The reason that you're asking this question, Barbara, about what strength you would start off with is because it comes in different levels. So I would suggest, interestingly, not to start with retinol first per se, but start with what's called retinyl palmitate, which is a fat form of vitamin A. So you can get that in lots of different brands. So if you just ask whoever you're purchasing your products from, I don't want the retinol, the most active form. So the nerdy, Myrna's like, break it down from here, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah.
So I would say you're asking for ORP. So ORP first. Then once you use that for a couple of months, even a year, you can then go to retinol.
Okay.
If you're going to go to retinol, you're starting off with like your 0.5 and then 1 and then up and above.
Yeah, and you don't use it every single night. It's sort of thing you build your skin up to until you can use it every single night, because your skin will flake. Don't freak out if it does. You're just overusing it.
That's really important. You're right. You're absolutely right.
She has taught me well, my friends. Let's see. There's another one in here, and it says, it's from Amy. Thank you, Amy. I've been dealing with redness around my nose, and it's not because I have a cold. I'm wondering how I can treat it. The question that most Irish people are asking right now.
It's so true. So, Amy, you're not on your own, first and foremost. So redness around the nose is typically, it can be just diffuse redness, which is when there's kind of just a red-pink hue. Or what a lot of people have is what's called telangiectasia, where you have little kind of broken capillaries. You can almost see the little line around them. Honest answer, vitamin C inside will help strengthen your capillary network, which is the redness anyway. But for a really specific result, you are probably best go to a local clinic and have a treatment done called IPL, so intense pulsed light. So it's essentially a machine. They put gel onto the skin. Once you're the suited candidate, they obviously have had a consult, and then the little laser beam goes down and they emit the laser, and it really does disperse the redness. But how you maintain it afterwards with, a surprise, surprise, vitamin A, vitamin C and SPF is going to mean that you're less likely to need that treatment on an ongoing basis.
Thank you so much for that one. Now, a message that's from Sinead. Good morning, Sinead. Hi, Jennifer. Can you please advise on products for a 13-year-old girl who's starting a skincare routine with normal skin? Many thanks.
First of all, I love the fact that she's looking after, I suppose, somebody in her family. But from a normal skin perspective, a lot of people will only think about teenagers when it gets to problematic time. But actually getting into that habit and regime is important, in my opinion. I'm obviously going to say that. But the skin's an organ, so it's okay to look after it even when you're little. You don't have to wait till you're 20, 30, 40 and above. So to answer the question for 13, honestly, all you really need, inverted commas, is to cleanse and SPF. Cleansing means that you're taking the day away, you're really taking any oil, debris. Hopefully she's out and about and playing and enjoying her life. So taking all that away from the day, and then SPF just to shield against the reality of those UV rays.
And with that, like a lot of that is just, tepid water, warm water and a flannel and then a bit of cleanser. Like, would you say? And do you have to be, for 13-year-old, a mild cleanser?
Yeah, so we would call like a pacified cleanser. So something like a Ven or a La Roche-Posay or a CeraVe. So your pharmacy brand, it's really affordable, but they're reputable and they really are clinically proven. So you're teaching them how to get into the habit of cleansing 60 seconds, usually from the collarbone up, and then remove it thoroughly, as you said, with your face cloth. And then in the morning time, getting them into the habit of applying a serum or an SPF is definitely something I would encourage.
Yeah.
Again, it's just like brushing your teeth. You teach them to brush their teeth from when they're little. They don't need retinols. They don't need eye creams.
No.
They don't, but it's about the absolute core basics. So that's really it.
And it's honestly, since you got me started to use my Cleanse Off mitt, it's a game changer. Like, just using something like a flannel is so important. You will be doing, I'm assuming you always do your post-Ireland AM chats on Skin Nerd, and Jennifer Rock, you'll be able to find her online as always. Thank you so much for coming in, Jen. Cheers. Now, hello, gentlemen. Over to the lads. Where are they?
Wonderful. We're all sorted now,
I'm telling you, we're going to be looking fabulous.
Coming up on tomorrow's show, Brian Kennedy will be dropping by for a chat and a performance to look forward to.
And with rising restaurant prices, we hear from chefs who are struggling to stay open.
A leading life coach tells us how to ditch the drama and get unstuck.
Ditch the drama, all that, plus your usual news, sport, and weather you're waking up to. We're live tomorrow from 7.
We're going to have to ditch the drama.
I'm ditched. Goodbye. Have a great day.
You better be doing that.